words said in the aftermath are just too confusing. Now I spend my days watching you throw stones at someone who's already dead. And if this is the way we all began, so how can I ask for any more?
I'm Rob Dunkelberger, and I'm here to welcome you to the stages of Minnesota. On today's show, we begin to gear up for every theater nerd's favorite season, the Minnesota Fringe Festival. I'll be talking with fellow Twin Cities theater blogger and first-time Fringe producer, Kendra Plant, about her Fringe show, the Kendra Plant Variety Hour, which has its first performance on opening night of the festival, July 31st at 8:30 p.m. at Mixed Blood. We'll also have two new reviews for you of shows closing this coming weekend. Love and Baseball at Artistry in Bloomington and Glenn Sheen at History Theater in St. Paul. And as always, our weekly look at who I saw at the theater this week. But before we get to that, I woke up this morning, read my emails, and got a dire message from our friends at Yellow Tree Theater. It said in part that Yellow Tree Theater, along with many other small theaters across Minnesota, is facing a sudden and significant reduction in public funding. For us, it said, it's a cut of over $27,000 in essential operating support. That's more than 30% of the public funding we received last year. This shift isn't about the work we do, it's part of a broader change impacting arts organizations statewide. Still, the impact on a small theater like ours is very real. This loss affects our ability to fairly compensate our artists and staff, keep ticket prices accessible for all, and to continue delivering the bold, intimate theater experiences you love. Yellow Tree Theater has set up a GoFundMe page to try and raise the shortfall. We'll link to that page in the show notes, and I encourage you, if you care about theater, to go there and donate or reach out to your favorite theater and see what you can do to support them. We'll be happy to provide links to other theaters in future episodes as well, if they want to reach out to us. I also want to take a moment to remind you of the Yellow Tree Theater Food and Clothing Drive, which we mentioned on our very first episode. They are accepting donations in the lobby of the Yellow Tree Theater at 320 5th Avenue Southeast in Osseo, Minnesota, through July 28th. Items needed are canned foods, non-perishable items like rice, pasta, beans, gently worn items of clothing, coats, hats, scarves, gloves, socks, infant and kids' clothing. Now, let's see what Kendra Plant has to say for herself. We're here with Kendra Plant to talk about her upcoming Fringe show at the 2025 Minnesota Fringe Festival. Kendra, why did you choose the Minnesota Fringe Festival to make your producing debut?
Well, thank you for having me, Rob. I'm really excited to talk about my show because, primarily I've been an audience member and a theater blogger, and I've been an arts administrator, and it's been decades since I've been on the stage in front of folks, and I'm really excited to take this leap. And the reason I chose the Minnesota Fringe Festival is because it's one of my favorite arts events all year round. I know we've gone to the Fringe previews together and seen Fringe shows. It's a really fun event that happens every year in Minnesota, and I'm a longtime fan. And the purpose of the Minnesota Fringe is to connect adventurous audiences with adventurous artists, and I'm both. I'm an artist, Rob. It's happening right now.
I can tell by your glasses.
Thank you.
So you are on the board of the Minnesota Fringe. So for the viewers who don't know the Minnesota Fringe, it's coming up, and this will come out right before this year's festival starts. So could you just give us a really quick rundown of what the Fringe is and how it works?
Yeah. So this is the 32nd annual Minnesota Fringe Festival. And there's 99 shows in this year's Fringe Festival, and artists can put on any kind of show. It could be comedy, drama, opera, improv, music, drag, anything that an artist could think to do, mime, like legitimately anything.
Hopefully not mime.
Okay, well,
Okay.
we're going to fight now because I'm really into clowning all of a sudden, and I'm also going to just put out into the universe, if you're doing clowning in the Twin Cities, maybe just reach out to me because I want to see your show or be a part of it because I love it. So yes.
I love
yes,
clowning too.
Yes to miming, yes.
I love clowning too, and mime is part of that. And I apologize. I am a chastened, I am a humbler tigger.
You need a press professional to help you get past that one, Rob.
I know.
So anyway.
Erica.
I'm on the Fringe Festival board, and I've been on the board for about 5 years. I'm also a longtime volunteer of the Minnesota Fringe Festival and just really love the organization. It's a community organization with a small staff, and they really have a big impact in the arts community, especially for folks who want to who are getting into the arts and are trying out new things, like me, who I'm getting back into the arts after a long time away, or folks who are trying something new in the arts and need an audience to kind of see if it's successful or what changes they need to make, or if they just want a chance to reach new audiences. So there's a lot of reasons an artist would choose to be in the festival, and I chose the festival because it seems like it's a pretty safe place for a beginner, because once you get into the festival, it comes with a box office is taken care of. You don't have to have people who are trying to run your box office. You don't have to go out and do all of the marketing to get the audiences. You get help with a technician. So there's stuff built in to keep you on track as a first-time producer, which I'm a first-time producer, and that's why I love the Fringe Festival.
And for first-time producers, there's a separate portion of the lottery, isn't there?
Yeah, so this year they had a Never Have I Ever lottery, and I was entered into that too. So if they're trying to give folks who haven't been in the Fringe a chance to get onto the stage. So it's a pretty cool opportunity.
You're a technologist and an arts administrator. How do those worlds come together in this show?
So the name of my show is the Kendra Plant Variety Hour Good News Edition with special guests. And the reason why I made my show is, since it's my first time coming back to the stage after a long while, I wanted to collaborate with other artists. So I thought a variety show would be a good way to do that. And I had an idea that I wanted to do a themed variety show about something that was really important to me. And that important thing is trying new things, and the messy and funny and sometimes heartbreaking steps that we take to get to good things sometimes come with bad things or weird things. And I think artists know a lot about this. Artists put themselves on stage for rejection, they go to auditions, they're reinventing themselves. Artists have a lot to say about that, but technologists are also taking a lot of chances. Technologists are also not knowing the answers and figuring out things as things come along and being innovative. So as a technologist and a woman in technology who was starting a career, I kept having these moments where I was like, learning these new things is really stressful, and I keep having to almost fake it till I make it over and over again. And I really leaned a lot on my arts training and my arts community during that time, and I thought a variety show would be a great place to really dive into those ideas and also have a fun time, because Fringe shows are about an hour long or just a little under. You don't have a lot of time to dig into like a deep show, so I really wanted to. I'm also saying this knowing that the global and the national news has been really hard and difficult for a lot of people in our community. Things are globally like really stressful and it's hard. So what I wanted my show to be was an inspiration for folks to keep trying things in their life that work, to get out behind their screens. And we have comfortable things that we do. I like to be with my cats at home. I like to play games on my iPad, but I need to push a little beyond that to make good things happen for myself and for the people around me. And I really wanted to explore that in my show.
Is your show the same every night, or do you have different guests?
Good question. I have the same guests every night, and there's going to be a composer. Emily Boyajan is doing a work from her opera. And actually, you saw Transitions last year at the Fringe Festival?
Yes, I saw Transitions twice, which when you're at the Fringe Festival, there's no way you can see every Fringe show. And the one thing somebody who wants to try and see every Fringe show, even though you know you can't, never does, is see a show for a second time. But I did. I thought it was fantastic. Emily is amazing.
Yeah. And she's going to do an electric piano and do 2 pieces from that show. And it's about living authentically, and it's a perfect fit for the theme. So really glad to have her. And you invited me to that show, and so that's how I know Emily, is through the Fringe from last year. So great to have her. I'm also going to have Taiko Arts Midwest is coming. They have a group that does festival Japanese dancing and music and puppetry. So there'll be flute and bells and drums, and that's also a celebration. And they're working on a really old art form, but it's new to them. And sometimes finding the freshness and expanding your artistry with things that are really traditional is really exciting. So that fits into the theme. And then finally, I'm going to have Jolene Meshbesher is going to be our grand finale, and she's doing a burlesque piece. It's about movement, and it's about facing difficulties and about being female-bodied in a male career, which I also understand that like a traditionally male career. So it's going to be really exciting, and that's burlesque. So it's going to be all 3 the same acts every night, and I hope you can come and experience those.
Well, you know I'll be there for sure.
Thanks. Thank you, Rob. It's good to have your friends in the audience, especially again when you don't know who's going to show up. The show is meta for me because it's about doing new things, and doing the show is a new thing for me. So as I walk through the content for the show, it's being mirrored in my nervousness about coming to an interview and talking about my show and getting ready for previews and taking the stage again and finding a costume. It's all about being okay with not being okay sometimes as we get to making things.
You put your name in for the lottery. Your name was selected. And then what?
So I freaked out. And I want to say, first of all, the Fringe Festival has a great system where if you want to be in the Fringe, you pay a small fee to get your name put on a ping pong ball, and then they draw them randomly in public. So it's very transparent that nobody's juried the festival, nobody selected me, and why would they? But they thank you for taking a chance of coming to my show. I have great artists. I'm going to lean on them. So I was really, when my ball got drawn, I felt physically ill. It's a great opportunity, but it also is a really big step. As a producer, you have to pay some money to get a venue. I got a very large venue, Mixed Blood, and I am really excited, but I'm also really nervous as I navigate through this, and the date gets closer and closer, and so we're knocking on the door, and it's my favorite time of year. I love the Fringe, right. But what an honor to be able to be on the stage. I've gotten a lot of support from my friends and family, from the artists that I'm working with, so collaborative, and I'm really grateful about the people in my life who have given me the space to do such an adventurous thing.
Sure. And it sounds like the theme of your show comes directly from that moment when the ball was pulled from the basket with your name on it, and you're like, I have to try now to do this, something new, something scary, and but something worthwhile.
People who put their name in, they quit, they pull their name out, and for some reason that wasn't an option for me. You never know when your ball's going to get picked again. I could want to be in the Fringe next year and for the next decade, and if the Fringe is around, which I hope it is, please donate to the Minnesota Fringe Festival. If it is around, there's no guarantee that I would get the chance to coordinate my show. So it's an opportunity, and I'm going to seize the day and take that stage and try to enjoy it as much as possible, lean into the excitement, and then still acknowledge that there's some anxiousness and worry. But we all know as performers that kind of nervousness, the jitters, can be good for your performance because it's your body letting you know that you're doing something important.
Right. What do you want people to take away from your show?
So again, my show is 50 minutes long. I want everybody who comes to see the show to find something in the show that they identified with, and to, there's music and movement and storytelling. It's going to be fun, but I also want them to feel like it makes them want to try something new that they've been wanting to do. It makes them want to support the people in their life who are trying new things. It makes them want to reach out and be a part of a community that they've been hoping to be a part of. So I really hope it's inspirational, and I hope it also makes you want to see more fringe shows, because there's 98 other fringe shows in the festival besides mine. So if you do come see my show, please also make sure to see other shows at Mixed Blood Theater, at Cedar Riverside, and then there's also independently produced theaters in Uptown and Northeast Minneapolis, all around Minneapolis. So please see as many artists and support as many artists as you can.
And real quick before we go, how do people find out more about your show and other shows at Fringe?
Yeah, it's customary in the Fringe to have postcards. I have a postcard, but there's the Fringe website on here. So minnesotafringe.org is where you can find out information about all the Fringe shows. Also, there is one preview left, which is the Wednesday before the Fringe opens. So that would be July 30th at Rarig Thrust. And previews is a great chance to see just a little snippet of a bunch of shows, especially out-of-town guests. If you wanted to see a touring artist coming in with something really cool from another area, the previews are a great chance to get a taste of different shows at the Fringe.
Great. Well, thanks for being on the show, Kendra. I look forward to your show. I'll try and be at the first performance, of course.
I'm so glad you could make it, and thanks for the opportunity to talk about it. I appreciate it.
Whether it moves me to cheers or tears, puts me to sleep or gets me up on my feet. These are my Minnesota Honest Reviews. Truthful, but not hurtful. My pick of the week review is Love and Baseball, running through July 28th at Artistry in Bloomington. The show is performed in their newly reopened Black Box Theater, which is a more intimate venue than their main stage, and perfect for this little two-hander of a romantic comedy. The play, by Jerry Montoya and directed by Eric Morris of the Hive Collaborative Morrises, Love and Baseball, tells the story of three meetings between two people who seem to belong together. Each meeting between Will and Michelle begins awkwardly and ends with you yearning for them to kiss. It's a rom-com about two people you want to get together, but something keeps getting in their way. Morris and his production team fill the stage, soundtrack, and blocking with baseball imagery. But fear not, those who don't care for baseball is referenced and plays a role in the tale, but requires no love of the game or even knowledge of it to be completely captivated by this production. Everything you need to know is explained to you. And if you're worried that it will be all about baseball, it isn't. Will loves baseball, and so he uses it to illustrate a point, and that becomes a template for their subsequent meetings. It wasn't until I was almost through with my blog review and was commenting on how I had been a fan of Dustin Bronson, who plays Will, since being completely in awe of his performance in Georgiana and Kitty, Christmas at Pemberley at the Jungle Theater in 2022, that the penny dropped on why I was so taken with this play. It is a Jane Austen romance set in the modern world. I'm not saying it's an adaptation, but like the Christmas at Pemberley trilogy, It brilliantly creates within its audience a longing for its characters to end up together, to find happiness, that unmistakable sense that here is the person who feels like home to you, the one that is meant to be. But as in Austen's work, that cannot happen at the outset. There needs to be the noble sacrifice, the sense of honor that dictates acts of faithfulness, or pride that doesn't allow its characters to find happiness too quickly. There is an exquisite feeling that one comes to recognize in an Austen book, a good adaptation, or, in the Pemberley cases, continuations. It is a combination of yearning and exhilaration at the dawning of love, somehow capturing that feeling of falling in love, and the rush of overwhelming joy when that love is answered with love, particularly after a period of longing. I haven't words any better than Stephen Duffy's in his 1986 song, She Loves Me, so I will use them to conjure for myself, and hopefully you as well, that feeling. The minutes that we missed, the idle lips that should have kissed, are now gently together. The first kiss lasts forever. Montaigne's script is smart, funny, and emotionally nuanced, but it takes just the right actors to hit it out of the park. Thankfully, Morris has perfectly cast this production. This show works because we want the characters to get together in the end. We only have 90 minutes with them, so their chemistry has to be almost immediate. It may sound shallow to say, but the shortcut to manifesting that acceptance in the audience of their almost instant attraction is to cast two actors who are attractive to the audience. We find them attractive, and therefore we believe that they would find each other attractive. In Dustin Bronson and Kendra Mueller, we have two very attractive actors, to be sure, but also two very talented actors. That shortcut allows us to get on board quickly, but it's the actors' charm, their playful interactions, the way they seem completely caught off guard in every act of the play by the feelings the other stirs in them, that makes this a grand slam of a play. Bronson's awkwardness in the opening at unexpectedly finding Michelle, who is waiting for his roommate in the house, is beautifully played. We see the struggle in him initially between his desire to turn on the Dodgers playoff game or be polite to the stranger. The longer the scene goes on, Bronson's motivations gradually shift from desire to be polite to genuine desire. Mueller, who has apparently been in hiding for a number of years because I'm completely unfamiliar with her, is confident, intelligent, and perfect in the role. I think it's her playful confidence contrasted with Bronson's timidity at first that really cements her appeal. She draws him out, and once they get on equal footing, we realize there is a desire within ourselves to see these two together that harmonizes with the character's own feelings. I hope this isn't a token return for Mueller, who's far too good not to appear regularly on stage. Love and Baseball runs through July 28th at Artistry in Bloomington. I loved the space, the play, the cast, and every aspect of the production. Whether you love baseball or hate it, I assure you, makes no difference. If you've ever felt an electric attraction to someone who you just met, or are a sucker for a good old-fashioned Jane Austen romance, you've got one weekend left to catch this show. You won't be sorry. We'll post a link in the show notes to the website where you can read more about the play and purchase tickets. Originally produced by the History Theater in 2015, Glenn Sheen returns once more to the stages of History Theater on this, its 10th anniversary. This was my third visit to Glenn Sheen, and each time I venture back to the Haunted Mansion on the North Shore, I bring along someone new to share this wonderful true crime musical comedy with. This year, it was my son and his fiancée, and they were very entertained, which gives me so much joy. Sharing great theater is what it's all about, and when I get to see someone responding so positively, it replenishes my determination to share what I love with the world. It's easy to see why the History Theater brings the show back. It's an incredibly fun production that seems to get better the more times you see it. I'm not a true crime fan, but it turns out you don't need to be to enjoy this show. It's less about the details of the crime as it is watching in disbelief the train wreck of humanity that is the main character, Marjorie Caldwell. The amount of suspicious things that have happened around her and the lack of punishment she's received is mind-blowing. It makes for a fascinating story, but it also raises serious questions about the criminal justice system. Oh wait, we already had those, didn't we? What's amazing is how enjoyable the whole thing is. I spoke with playwright Jeffrey Hatcher 2 years ago on the podcast Twin Cities Theater Chat, and he made a comment about it being a real story that seems populated by the characters from Fargo. I thought that perfectly embodied what Glenn Sheen the musical is. A great cast brings us into the past with songs that oddly do not feel out of place in a story as weird as this. The book for the musical is by Hatcher with songs written by Chan Poling, who was a member of the alternative rock band The Suburbs. The two have collaborated several times on musicals, including the History Theater production The Defeat of Jesse James, which was another wonderfully original piece of musical theater. Hatcher's script leans into the craziness of the events without drawing us into that frame of mind. This allows us to view them through our reality. Thus, we see them for the absurdities they are. He tells us the story of Marjorie Caldwell and her husband Roger, who conspired together, resulting in the murder of her mother, Elizabeth Congdon, and her nurse, Velma. Very quickly, Roger's arrested and found guilty, but Marjorie proves to be a much harder catch for the justice system. She's a master of staying one step ahead of everyone, but also seems to lose half a step with everyone that she takes. Always avoiding the punishment, but somehow also losing the prize. Poling songs are fun, often witty, sometimes quite touching. Favorites are the hilarious Conspiracy, performed by Marjorie's defense team. The defense they mount is so crazy, it works. On a sweeter note is Just You and Me, which is a duet between Marjorie and Roger. It's a beautiful moment on the surface, but underneath, it's incredibly dark, as it's simply Marjorie manipulating Roger to save herself yet again. The cast is filled with actors familiar to theatergoers of the Twin Cities. Most of the performers play multiple roles. My favorite was Wendy Lear, who plays Elizabeth Congdon and Marjorie's defense attorney, among others. Her over-the-top defense attorney was a big reason that the song Conspiracy was a crowd favorite. Dancing like a man half her age, she was as believable as the elderly matriarch as she was unbelievably outrageous as the attorney for the defense. She also plays the nurse Velma, and her sweet song, Stay With Me, is a nice moment, playing tribute to a woman who was needlessly murdered, just for agreeing to come out of retirement to help nurse Elizabeth that night. Gary Briggle's rich vocalizations are a highlight and bolster every song, especially the ensemble pieces. Dane Stauffer is perfect as the out-of-his-depth, easily manipulated Roger. He has the Dumb and Dumber act down perfectly, and you're surprisingly sympathetic to him as the man in over his head. Jen Morin holds the whole show together as Marjorie. She perfectly straddles the line between being a smart manipulator and not quite smart enough to get what she wants. Glenn Sheen is running at the History Theater in St. Paul through July 27th. If you've never seen it, you should check it out. And if you have, you know you want to go again. We'll do that thing in the show notes to make it easy for you to learn more about the show and to purchase tickets.
Do I really have to go? Hard pressed to find a reason to brave the cold. So warm inside your cabin, give me just another moment. Wrapped inside the blanket of your body, the blanket of your body. Time to hit the open road. Loving arms await me, their domain knows me alone. Never a single question, 35 years full of holiday cheer, and still no invitation for my +1.
That's it for this week. I want to encourage everyone to attend the Minnesota Fringe Festival, and especially the Kendra Plant Variety Hour. I also want to thank Chanhassen Dinner Theaters again for sponsoring last week's episode. Don't forget to get your tickets to Greece before it closes, and grab those white Christmas tickets now so you don't end up out in the cold this winter. Remember, if you see me at a show, don't be shy. Say hi. Let's get a picture so you can impress your friends and family by appearing on the Stages of Minnesota. I'll be at the Minnesota Fringe Festival most days between July 31st and August 10th, and I'll have the Stages of Minnesota fans and buttons to hand out to anyone who wants to stop and tell me about the show they're in if they're an artist, or their favorite show of the festival if they're not. More on what's in store during the Minnesota Fringe Festival on next week's episode. If you have comments, questions, suggestions of topics you'd like to see covered, or are interested in supporting the Stages of Minnesota by sponsoring an episode, you can email me at robdunkelberger@thestagesofmn.com. Thanks as always to Ryan Lee for the generous use of his music. Every note of music used in the Stages of Minnesota comes from his albums, which you can find at ryanlee.bandcamp.com. You can read all of my reviews at my blog at thestagesofmn.com. Whether you're watching the YouTube edition or listening to the podcast version, remember that no matter how loud you shout or how high you jump, I can't see or hear you. So, where would you like? If you enjoyed the show, please help spread the word. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and review the show. 9 out of 10 doctors agree that it doesn't cure cancer, but it sure is fun. And remember, we are running a half-off sale on free subscriptions throughout the month of July. So don't miss your opportunity to get your free The Stages of Minnesota subscription for more free. Until next week, as Carol Jackson had tattooed on her left calf, go see a show. And hey, let's be cool out there.
'Cause it's all over but the shouting. Every soul needs light. My mind's been wasting away in the afternoon shade, out of sight. And I am not the pure and perfect one, but my branches are still bent toward the sun.